What's up? It's a dark day for Ireland, guys. It's a democracy ender. As far as I'm concerned, democracy doesn't exist in Ireland. It's dead in Ireland. A lot of people are sharing the same thoughts online, particularly on social media. You'll talk to people, average Joe Normie now, that doesn't know what's going on, NPCs that haven't got a clue what's going on, and would have said, sure, I wouldn't have voted for that person anyway. It's not the point. The point is that anyone that should have and wanted to get on the ballot should have gotten onto the ballot, particularly when you're looking at people with high levels of money and connections and interest in this country being blocked from getting onto the ballot. To me, is a very strange thing to see, and it really just shows you the type of grip that the regime has on this country. And this was the best that the regime could splutter out for this presidential campaign. What I would say about it is this as well. It is the 24th of September 2025. The election itself is in little under a month away. And this is how tight this has come to finalise the candidates that are going to be on the ballot. That is absolutely crazy to me. So, just to put that very simply, there has been very little fervour, very little talk around the presidency, barring the people who wanted to get on the ballot, like, for example, Conor McGregor, Nick Delahanty, and Maria Steen. They have been the big three talking points around the social media circles and in general. And what has happened and what has transpired is they were blocked from getting onto the ballot. They were not voted for, whatever way you might want to put it. They weren't given the necessary credentials to get onto the ballot. That is wild, because when you think about the three people that are now in front of you, I don't know anybody that would select these people. And now it's a case of try and pick the least worst person. That is a shambolic way to be running an Irish election. You had, for example, Michael D. Higgins, who said that he was only ever going to run for one term, ended up running for two. There's a lot of rumours and stuff like that surrounding him, and there's been a lot of speculation about him and allegations about him over the last number of years that have intensified and have not been dispelled nor gone away, which I think is quite interesting. What also has happened now is you've got three people in front of you that I'm going to delve into over the course of this video and show you that these people have their own problems and their own controversies, we shall say. But what I want to start off with is, I know some people are going to love this and some people are not going to love this, and some of the older listeners perhaps won't like this, and it is going to come across as ageist. Yeah, I agree, but these are the facts that matter. You've got 68-year-old Catherine Connolly. You've got 54-year-old Jim Gavin. And you've got 62-year-old Heather Humphreys to be representing the country of Ireland. Meanwhile, you've got a guy that's sitting in Norris and Uachtaran that is so old that people are making tea cozies of him and treating him as some sort of diminutive fairy tale creature. It's bizarre how people have personified Michael D. Higgins. It's a very strange thing to me and a very strange phenomenon. And it's something that will potentially happen again, because whoever is the person that ends up quote unquote winning, this election will be treated the exact same. There'll be nothing wrong with it. There'll be no sort of questions going on about it. And I'm sure anybody that's looking at this from outside of this country is absolutely perplexed how a multi-millionaire, for example, where a lot of connections and a lot of support, has not gotten onto the ballot. But it just goes to show you exactly what happens here in Ireland. Skullduggery, nepotism, nonsense, and in my view as well, it just really just shows that democracy just doesn't exist in this country. It shows that the regime were afraid of Conor McGregor, Nick Delahanty and Maria Steen, and I think they were afraid of them for various reasons, but I think ultimately the one reason that connects all three is that if they were put on a public forum, or onto the public, or I should say the state broadcaster, and were allowed to eviscerate these people, they would have done that. They would have absolutely put these people to bed. And I say that, and people might say, well, that's a care home reference, Ninja. Maybe it is. But they would have absolutely eviscerated these people. Now, I'm not saying that all of the people that are aforementioned are complete saints and that they don't have their own issues. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, you've got people here, for example, that are career politicians, and now stuff that's coming up now about Jim Gavin, that is certainly thrown the cat amongst the pigeons. And these people ain't as squeaky clean as the media and indeed politicians want to make out. But it's a dark day for Ireland, is what I'll say. Imagine that this is what the regime has spluttered out of them. It is like the last throes of a cold up that last bit of phlegm, and that to me is what these people in this regime has done. But I was talking not too long ago about Bertie Ahern. Like, imagine that. I don't even have to. He's on an interview years ago and he's questioned about him being a finance minister without a bank account, and he leaves the interview very promptly. I think that was very interesting. He also had Tony Holohan's name was floated around. I mean, when you look back over the last couple of years and the stuff that happened with regards to the Chinese flu, the fact that they even thought about him and he thought about running was mind-boggling to me. And then, of course, then you had a couple of other people like Michael Flatley and Bob Geldof that were announcing that they were going to run, but I don't think there was any ever real credibility to that. I think what they were trying to do at the time was they were trying to distract from the whole Conor McGregor thing, because he was getting a lot of support online in particular and in social media circles. But we'll go on and talk about this anyway, because these people are not without their problems, and we'll get into over the video. So Heather Humphreys here, we'll start with her. So I'm going to just be talking about a couple of sources that are available publicly online, and that's all I'm talking about here, and then I'll give my opinions on these things. But there's an article there from the Irish Times that talks about her having a conflict of interest with charities regulator. There was a delay in addressing a conflict of interest involving a director on the charities regulator. He was also on the board of Scouting Ireland. At the time, the regulator was investigating Scouting Ireland. Stop. The issue was raised in early 2024, but it wasn't resolved for over a year. That's typical out of Ireland, huh? The heritage of Heather Humphreys. Now, this is something that doesn't probably get brought up enough, and it's probably not going to be spoken about at all, and this is maybe one of the only channels that you'll hear this one from. So, Humphreys has spoken about her Protestant heritage, including family connections to the Ulster Covenant and attending Orange Order parades as a child. What is it with these people, and in particular Fine Gael and attending Orange Order, stuff like that? Wasn't there talk about your man there that has the big head that's in Fine Gael? His name escapes me right now, but a weird looking character, and he was involved in attending Orange Order stuff as well. Weird. This has led to criticism or heated discussion, particularly around whether her religious heritage background is being treated fairly, especially in terms of political or sectarian implications. That also comes from the Irish Times. The alleged blocking of independent nominations, this comes from Echo Live. There's been criticism or concern that Fine Gael councillors were being directed not to support independent candidates' attempts to secure local authority nominations, which is one of the routes to get on the presidential ballot. Humphreys has said she had no role in whipping councillors for that, but the party stance has been challenged. So, effectively, what's going on there is they're actually telling you, yeah, there might have been people that were told not to do that, and there's people that have abstained, and there's chaos at these meetings, and people seem to not know what's going on. So, again, I think an awful lot of it's theatre, and this thing that we keep getting treated to is, oh, I didn't know that this is what we were supposed to do, all of the time. And then when they're able to do things like shaft you and take money out of your pocket, well able to do that, can change things within 24 hours here. They can. Remember the deposit retention scheme nonsense there, scam nonsense. We're able to do that there basically overnight. But when it comes to things that are supposed to be done for the benefit of this country and its people, we don't know what to do. Total absolute muppets. Other controversy, so she's got another controversy there. It says her role in the appointment of John McNulty to the board of the Irish Museum of Modern Art in 2014 was criticised, seen by some as politically patronage. That comes from the Irish Times. So, when it comes to people being involved with others in this country and things happening, it comes as no surprise. Nepotism's off the charts here, it is in this country. I'm not saying that that's a nepotistic, but what I'm saying is it is off the charts. Also, issues around her language, Irish usage in certain appointments or roles, especially in arts, Gaeltacht areas, has been points of critique there coming from the Irish Times. So there you go. That's Heather Humphreys for you there. That's possibly a vote away from her there, I'd say, with regards for a lot of people as well. And I think what's funny is, so she's talking about her heritage there, for example. It's amazing to see the amount of people that will totally ignore that and they'll be like, but this person was marching up in the UK and they were trying to unite people, and I don't like that person, or that person was born in the UK, but they're definitely not Irish. Okay, but Johnny Somalia there, that's born in Ireland, but he has two Somalian parents, is as Irish as you and me, is he? Yeah, he is. Absolute goofballs. Next up, we have Jim Gavin. Now, Jim Gavin has had a really bad time of it in the last couple of days. We'll get into it over the course of this here, because we'll go. I want to stick with the articles and kind of expand upon that, in my opinion. So bear with me on that. So his comments on the Gaza-Israel war. So Fianna Fáil have pushed out our Jim here now, and there seems to be an image going around of him with Emer Higgins of Fine Gael, and he's seemingly supporting Emer Higgins in said picture. So that's a bit odd, isn't it, to be flip-flopping between parties now. And here's the thing as well, people, I'm jumping around here, but, you know, this is what this channel does. You've got Sinn Féin, for example, supporting Catherine Connolly. A lot of people forget that Mary Lou MacDonald was once in Fianna Fáil. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people forget that. So here we go. Gavin made remarks that the bombing in Gaza was continuing even after he believed military options and objectives had probably been reached. This drew criticism, particularly from Sinn Féin and some others, for being insensitive given the humanitarian toll, the Irish Times. Has he said anything about what's happened to Ireland over the last number of years and the restrictions and stuff like that that happened to people with regards to the Chinese flu? Has he said anything about that? No? Didn't say anything at all about that. Has he said anything about the hordes of third worlders coming into this country? No? Hasn't said anything about that? Okay. That's kind of odd. He is out there, though, and talking about how he voted in favour of Repeal the 8th. So I just want to bear that in mind. Now, I mean, you can look into the records of the other people that are involved here as well. But when you're coming out and you are campaigning on the basis that you voted for Repeal the 8th, which is essentially the murder of children in the womb, it's a no-go for me. Like, you are absolutely not getting a vote for me. This has to be the worst presidential ballot that we've ever faced. And we faced bad, we have. But this is bad. This is really bad. So, online smears. This comes from the Journal and a couple of other outlets as well too. The Journal there are, of course, the stalwarts of information in this country. They are so well regarded in this country. Online smears, false claims. Now, Jimbo was on TV the other day, according to a lot of people, and there was stuff up, and he was very unhappy about. He was unhappy about misinformation. That's a word that the regime like to use, isn't it? Misinformation is just information that they want you to miss. They're not saying it's lies. Are they saying it's lies, or are they not saying it's lies? There have been multiple social media posts making claims about his private life, family, etc., which his campaign has labelled malicious smears or utterly false stories. Okay, which ones? Can you be specific about that? These have spread widely. He's taken action in some cases to have posts removed, filed letters to social media platforms regulators, and critics sometimes counter that such complaints are part of political damage control. Now, that's an interesting thing to do. So he's been talking about how he wants the social media companies regulated. Of course, El Boomer, this stuff is getting out about me, and all these politicians acting the same way. This stuff is getting out about me. How do we shut it down as fast as possible? Instead of having public discourse, and of course, public discourse is fine when you're a 35-year-old that has multi-millions in the bank and everything about you can be posted and spoken about online. Not a bother at all. And all these sorts of things can be said about you. But if you're someone that's in the public life and public sort of persona that's been pushed forward by a regime party and people are criticising or talking about you, that can't be done. So what they're saying is, you're naughty for talking about one of our regime's doogies. But we'll talk about someone else who we don't want on the ballot and we're going to essentially block from the ballot there. Madness, isn't it? It's absolute madness. Now, I'll just jump into the claims that are being made online. If you want me to do another video about it, I probably will, to be fair, to talk about it, because it's fascinating stuff that's online. So I'm just repeating what was being said online. So there are people that are making claims, and I can do a further video that's going to bring up the post that says it. There's people that are making claims online that's saying that Jim Gavin was with the friend of his daughter. There's also, in the same post on Twitter, another claim that says that he was with Stephen Cluxton's wife. I know people were like, I thought you were going to just stop at Stephen Cluxton there, Ninja. No, Stephen Cluxton's wife is the allegation and allegations that are being made online. It doesn't seem like anyone's coming out and saying that that's untrue, insofar as they're not saying that that's a lie or what about it is a lie, which is quite strange. There's also a number of people that have spoken about the fact that none of the Dublin panel seem to have come out and publicly supported Jim Gavin. I say that now, and Sheely McMahon probably put out a tweet tomorrow. Best of luck to Jim Gavin. You know, the type that he is. But anyway, nobody has come out in public support of him, which is strange. There's a lot of people that have said that the way he stepped away from the Dublin panel was strange. There's also the video that he did. Have you seen the video yet? Maybe I will do a video on Jim Gavin alone. There'll be people out there going, Ninja, you're turning against the Dub here in the presidential election. What's going on? No, I'd like to call things as I see it. And what I'm seeing are shenanigans. You've got a guy that lives in Dublin, that is from Dublin, that was doing a political video on a farm. And then he had white or cream trousers on. And then he's kneeling down. Like, that's weird. Then in the video itself, you've also then got the gate for the cows being left open, which a lot of people commented and said, that's Fianna Fáil and immigration. The Fine Gael and immigration, of course. The door's just open. Anyone can wander in. And then there was a lot of commentary then about the type of dog that was used in the video. And of course then, the dog is an appeal to people. And then there was the following conversation that was about that then, which was, how come Jim Gavin's family haven't posted anything about him? And why are they not in any of his promotional videos? You know, a lot of commentary online that are picking up about these things, and I think that's interesting. There's also been a scrutiny of his experience and political statements. While not so far scandals per se, some media commentary points to his relatively limited political experience compared with the demands of being president and the risks of missteps due to that. Also, the Gaza comments above have been used by others to question his judgment or framing. So that's coming from a number of sources there. You know, I think out of all of them, I think that's a big problem. And that's a big problem for Fianna Fáil. And you've got, for example, Micheál Martin doing photo ops in September when it's absolutely fucking Baltic here in Ireland with ice creams. Now, I don't know about you, but there's been a lot of speculation online about what pictures with 99 ice creams with flakes or without flakes or with sauce in them means. Some people think they're messages that are being sent between politicians. I think that's probably something to be looked at, and I think there's probably some sort of truth to that, you know. And then we've got, last but not least, Catherine Connolly, independent, supported by left-wing parties, Sinn Féin, etc. So, foreign relations remarks, criticism of other states. She's made statements that some view as controversial. For example, saying the US, England and France cannot be trusted. I mean, you know, they can't. Accusing them of being militarised or being involved in the arms industries, etc. Not wrong there. Such remarks tend to draw criticism from those who think they are too sweeping or confrontational. So that's coming from the Irish Times. Position tone on Israel, Gaza, Hamas commentary. Have you noticed something about all three candidates, by the way? Ireland is not coming first with any of them. Her comments about Hamas and Palestinian issues have been contentious. For instance, remarks that employed embeddedness of Hamas in Palestinian society were criticised. Some felt her statements lacked clarity, or that she needed to be more explicit in condemnation while also addressing human rights concerns. That's coming from The Sun, amongst others. I don't care about what's going on in the Middle East. And if that's what your political opinion is, and see, this is the thing, guys, right? You've got two of these people, at least anyway, that are going to be whimpering and whinging about what's going on in the Middle East. I don't give a fuck about what happens in the Middle East. What I give a shit about is that these people that are having problems over there are going to scarper into Europe and into my country, amongst others. I don't want that, but none of these people are talking about that. And that's why the younger candidates are a problem for these people. Associations, past actions. So this is coming from the Times UK. She's been criticised for associations with controversial figures and events, for example, a visit to Syria under Assad, connections, past collaborations with MEPs Claire Daly and Mick Wallace, and previous supporter engagement with figures such as conspiracy theorist Gemma O'Doherty. Her backers defend that she has responded to criticism, so that's from the Times UK. You know, people are looking at that and probably reading out these things and they're going, Catherine Connolly definitely seems like the best of the three in there. Yeah, but then there's other things that are coming out, and I mean, if you're being supported by left wing, by Sinn Féin, that, I mean, that's like the kiss of death anyway. Because I mean, if they're supporting you, I mean, they've gone totally AWOL over the last couple of years, and to me, that's not very good at all. But that is what we are being treated to here in this country, and for anyone that's outside of this country or someone that's maybe part of the Irish people that's living abroad that's looking at this complete and utter shit show that's happening here in Ireland, I mean, it comes as no surprise to you. That's probably no surprise to you whatsoever that this is what it's come down to. But ultimately, what has happened is we have seen very good candidates, and I think, for example, obviously this channel had posted about Conor McGregor, and the reason why I posted about Conor McGregor was because, given the connections, the wealth, and the staunch support he had for Ireland, particularly online, and putting himself out there, he doesn't need to do that as a multimillionaire. He doesn't need to do that at all. There's no point for him to do that, if that makes sense. Whereas you see others that are, and I say that because he's living a luxury lifestyle. He doesn't have to get involved with these things and cause an awful lot of bother for himself. But he chose to do so, which I appreciate. And then you've got others then that would have been good candidates, in Nick Delahanty, who's talking about what's happening here in this country and has been very pivotal in breaking a lot of big stories over the last number of years. And that's very, very important. You've also got Maria Steen as well, who I had spoken about previously, in being a barrister and being a very large component with the last referendum as to why that went the way it did, would have been another very good candidate. And, you know, one of those three, for example, to even challenge these people would have been a good thing. But instead, it's been, now, closed door for you, and we're going to send out the old fogies. We're going to send out Jurassic, I was going to say Jurassic Park, Geriatric Park here. Like, more of the same. It's an absolute disgrace. And it comes as no surprise then, when you see our politicians carry on the way they do. Maybe it's a topic for another video, but these politicians have conned a generation, and certainly two generations older than me. They've conned them. They've conned them continuously, and there are people that are still being conned. They see their grandchildren, they see their children unable to buy homes, and are querying why this keeps happening and why people are struggling. Well, you only have to look at the people that you're voting for and the people that you're not holding accountable. Like, if you're in the age bracket of 50 plus, I personally think that you are the last couple of generations that are going to put up with this sort of nonsense. The generations that are coming after are based. Like, they're saying what they're thinking now, and they're not going to be putting up with this, because I've seen it online already, and there's a lot of people that are saying that they're not even going to attend. I think that the turnout for this presidential election is going to be low. I think it's potentially going to be a historic low, because why should anyone give a shit about any of these three candidates? They're awful. They're poor candidates in my view. But what you're going to see on the flip side is probably the most spoiled votes in history in an election in Ireland, because loads of people are just going to go to it and just going to write the names of the people that they thought should have been on it. And there's growing momentum for that, I will just say. There's growing momentum online to say, write down Conor McGregor number one, write down Nick Delahanty number one, write down Maria Steen number one. Now, I'm not endorsing or telling other people to do that, but there is very big momentum online for people to do that. And there's loads that are saying it underneath the comments. They're like, I'm just going to write Conor McGregor number one on the ballot and fuck them. Like, and I have to appreciate it. You know what I mean? I have to appreciate the fact that people are doing that and that are going to bother themselves to go to the polling station to do that. And that is exercising, in my opinion, your what is supposed to be democratic place in society. Instead, you have got councillors and you've got TDs and you've got various other members that are scoffing at you, that are guffawing out of them, saying that they're going to not let these people, and these people don't fit on the ballot and they don't fit and don't represent Ireland. Who the fuck is Simon Harris and Micheál Martin to tell you who should and shouldn't be on the ballot? Do you know what I mean? This day of politicians talking down to people is over. And I can't wait to meet some of these politicians in real life, because I will be telling them what I think of them. And that's what I do when I do see them. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to saying to them, I wanted this person or that person on the ballot and you don't represent me. To think that Simon Harris got, what was it, 15th count on the election before this one, and then got the 4th count on this election is strange, to say the very least. To look at Micheál Martin and think about what sort of success has that man brought to Irish society in his long tenure in Irish politics. Nobody can come up with anything that's positive. You know what I mean? So, you've got a big problem here on your hands there, regime, because what you've done is you've effectively told and shown everyone that democracy doesn't exist in this country, and you've told the population of Ireland, especially the young people, to get fucked. I know you don't care, because that's the thing. Like, people would say, that's blackpilling, that's despair. They don't care, because they're thinking they're going to get away with it. They're thinking that the old population that's there, that's going to phase out over the next number of years, and the built-in replacements of third worlders that they've introduced to this country are going to just outvote and outmaneuver you now in the future. And that people that are younger generations don't matter and aren't going to matter. What they are very interested in, and that to me is the consistent comment amongst them and the consistent streak that's happening here, is the moves that they will make with the president and what they have shown over the last couple of years with the likes of Michael D. Higgins. You know, for example, the Health Preservation Act that allowed people to abduct you from your home on the suspicion you had the sniffles from China. The stuff that was brought in, people forget it. The restrictions that were brought in over the Chinese flu. People flying into this country having to be stuck in hotels and then having to pay for that expense. Meanwhile, people then were brought over to this country fruit picking. And then not too long after that, then a war kicked off there over between Russia and Ukraine, and people were just shoved into this country ad nauseum. Almost seems like the timing was perfect and on purpose, doesn't it? So, people, I think, are rightly pissed off, and they're starting to get angrier and angrier about these things, which they're right to do. Because what else can you do when you're looking at a society now that is failing, it's dying. People that are outside of the city are saying it's a little bit better out there, but in the city there's big problems, and it's coming to you very soon. I just want to say that to you. Problems are going to start with you too, and only then will, I think, the country unite as it should do and say, this is enough of this. But is there going to be any sort of change, or is there anything going to be done with regards to any of these presidents? Nah. What they're going to do is they're just going to just follow what their masters are saying, and they're just going to sign things on, and there's going to be probably a little bit of theatrics. You may see some of that, but this to me, I think, is an absolute disaster, and it just shows you what this country is. Maybe it's just me and the type of person I am, but I was hoping, particularly, with this channel, the way I post videos, for a Conor McGregor presidency, just because of what he would say and what he would do. I am all for, at this moment in time, all about the anarchy, all about the chaos. I love the Joker, for example, in The Dark Knight, because he is there just to fuck shit up. You know what I mean? Well, it's interesting, and while I laugh about that and make that sort of analogy and have that laugh, it's true. I am done, and I mean this. I am just done with these people that stand out there and go, the office of the presidency is such an important thing, and we have to be espousing the values of the presidency. Well, you look at all three candidates, and how can you as a political party say that these people are representative not only of the Irish people, but how are they representative of what the Irish people as a collective are thinking? And I know that that's what you're trying to do as well. You're trying to make the Irish collectively think things. Because, and at the very least, like, you could have made the presidential election exciting. That's where I have to say, I really am jealous of the Yanks. The Yanks got a couple of exciting presidential elections because you know what, it was going to swing, and then you had all the messing that went on as well for the last few years. But like, that at the very least was exciting. This is another humdrum fucking boring situation. And that's it. That's all it is. And it's the same when it comes to election time then as well too. You got Simon Harris going, well guys, hi there, Simon Harris. And you're like, who was voting for you? Who was voting for you? And then you've got Micheál. Well, I was just saying that Ireland, it's not just for the Irish, it's for everyone. And if you say that Ireland is for the Irish, that's tantamount to incitement to hatred. Like, this is what we've been treated in this shithole. Oh, stop. Oh, stop. And then you've got Mary Lou running around as well too. And when I say running around, waddling around, talking all sorts of nonsense with the far left as well, like with the radical left. Oh, you have Sinn Féin stoogies that are out there as well too, standing with Ireland against racism. And meanwhile, there's Irish people walking down O'Connell Street with tricolours. And Sinn Féin are on the opposite side with the gender goblins with multiple hair colours. Ah, stop. Ah, I have to say, and I'll just finish now because this is just another one of those videos that I'm just like, I'm not editing it, I'm just saying as it is. It's just so bland and beige, isn't it? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, at least give us someone there that'd be a bit of crack. Now, I say that now, and the words will come back to haunt me because they'll. In the next election, what they do is they'll throw out your man there from People Before Profit, Sideshow Bob. They'll throw him out. New Irish, look at this guy. He's representative of the Irish people. Oh, stop. But anyway, we have to have a laugh at what we do, because if you don't laugh at it, I don't know what you do. But ultimately, I think democracy is just an absolute farce in this country. It's a damn squib. It's a wet fart. It's Dunskies in this country. What an absolute joke. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'm sure the comments are going to be riveting, because there's a lot of people that do share that sentiment, that they're like, how has this happened? Why has this happened? How has this been permitted? And make sure you like the video, because if you like the video, what happens is then more people get to see it. And I also appreciate people that are sharing and subscribing to the channel as well. Well, sharing the video and subscribing to the channel, because that also gets more people to see it, and that's something that I always greatly appreciate. So yeah, I'll talk to you in the next video, and thanks very much. Good luck.